After the massive commercial success of games like Mordhau and Chivalry 2, the medieval slasher genre has seen relatively little innovation in recent years. But fans of the genre fear not. Several promising projects are in the works. The most promising one I have seen so far is Fiefdom, an upcoming multiplayer slasher game developed by a new indie studio from Poland. Fiefdom recently won a Player's Choice Award for the best upcoming indie game of the year, which comes as no surprise if you take a look at what they have been working on. They also just recently released their first development blocks, and we thought this would be a great opportunity for a collaboration. So big shoutout and thanks to White Tower Games for sponsoring this video. Before we jump into the combat dev block, let's take a look at what Fiefdom is. Fiefdom is a multiplayer action melee game with free-flowing real-time combat. That means you can freely move your camera during combat and control your weapon arc during an attack. But Fiefdom is more than just a copy of the old slasher formula. Besides new melee combat mechanics, the game will also feature magic combat that adheres to the same principles as the melee combat, but we will get into that a bit later. Keep in mind that everything you see in this video is pre-alpha footage and subject to change. Fiefdom also just launched its Kickstarter campaign, where you can support the project and secure yourself access to the upcoming alpha in September 2025. And get a discounted game key for the full release in October 2026. There are also many exclusive in-game items available for backers. I'll leave a link to the Kickstarter campaign in the video description below. Fiefdom will feature several game modes. First, there are the large-scale battles with 48 players, similar to those in Chivalry and Mordhau, where we have primary and secondary objectives that guide the progress of a match. Maps will include ballistas, cannons, vehicles, destructible castles, horses and more. Then there's Battlegrounds, Fiefdom's star game mode that is intended for up to 100 players, so up to 50 versus 50, which sounds super fun if optimized well. This mode will feature special NPCs and also ship combat. And by that I mean not just fighting on ships, but actual naval battles. I'm super curious how that will play out. Then there is War mode, which is sort of a season-based campaign, where you join a realm for a season and fight for them in battles. Game updates after each season will reflect on the outcome of these wars, so you could say that the story of the game will be written by the players. On release there will be 3 factions to choose from, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Fiefdom will also feature ranked play at release. In fact, this will be the first slasher game ever that starts with a fully fleshed out ranked ladder system. The Fiefdom developers are also the developers of Mordhau's Skalagrad mod, which is a complete third-party MMR and matchmaking platform, similar to what Faceit is to shooter games. For Mordhau matchmaking, you had to sign in and queue through the Skalagrad website. In Fiefdom, Skalagrad will be natively integrated into the game, so they already have their tried and tested matchmaking system ready. There will be solo and party matchmaking queues, the option to create clans, automated in-game tournaments, as well as official invitational tournaments. The ranked game mode will be a 5 versus 5 team objective mode. In my opinion, small-scale game modes hold the most untapped potential in this genre. Chivalry 2's and Mordhau's small-scale game modes mostly appealed to a niche audience. I think the main problem was that ranked play was exclusively played in skirmish mode, which was a huge missed opportunity in my opinion. If Counter-Strike, for example, had Team Deathmatch as their only ranked mode, I don't think the game would be very popular. In fact, if you look at the most successful round-based multiplayer games like Counter-Strike, Dota 2, League, Valorant, they all have in common that there is some sort of strategy element to their main game mode. Some macro skills that can be developed separately from the raw mechanical skills that a slasher game requires. This is crucial for long-term replayability in my opinion. Mordhau modders actually had some decent attempts at making good small-scale game modes, but those were not really accessible for casual players, and therefore had no real chance of taking off. If Fiefdom reaches its Kickstarter goal, there will also be a 5-player PvE dungeon mode. Co-op PvE with slasher mechanics is another part of the genre that is criminally underexplored. The challenge with slasher games is that they are very difficult to develop. All the combat-related timings, like weapon wind-ups, release times, turn caps, parry lockouts, etc. must be precisely balanced down to fractions of a second. Fortunately, the Fiefdom development team includes genre veterans with thousands of hours of experience in slasher games, so I'm optimistic that they can pull it off. One important aspect for many players in a game like this is character customization. In Fiefdom, you will be able to mix and match different armor pieces, adjust the tint of your equipment, change wear and tear levels, add rust and more. You will even be able to craft your own armor with different sigils, patterns and color swatches. Going into battle with a custom character that looks distinct from others is half the game for many players. Speaking of battles and combat, the developers just recently released their first combat development blog, which was super interesting. Combat is obviously the heart and soul of any slasher game, so let's take a look at what we can expect. Fiefdom will feature 6 attack directions for slashes and 2 for stabs. The game will also include feints and morphs, or as Chivalry 2 called them, cancels and feints. As for defense, it seems that Fiefdom will take a middle ground between Mordhau and Chivalry 2, in the sense that there will be a timed parry from which you can riposte, and there will also be a held block from which you cannot riposte. Personally, if offense is tuned well, I like the feel and combat flow more without a strong held parry, so this might be a good compromise. A huge feature I haven't mentioned yet is that Fiefdom will also include magic spells. Magic will adhere to the same combat rules as melee, meaning you can feint spells, morph them, parry them and seamlessly switch between magic and melee. Now, the magic effects in the footage you see here are placeholders, a proof of concept so to speak. I thought about this topic for a while and I think that a well-balanced magic system could address the fact that previous generation slasher games often had a somewhat one-dimensional combat system. In Mordhau, for example, you either morph feint your opponent to death or rely on drag-axle mix-ups. If implemented wisely, magic could complement the melee combat and add more depth to the combat system. So I'm really looking forward to more information on that front. Interestingly, the devblog also teased a completely new chamber and stance system, which will be revealed in one of the next devblogs. And lastly, Fiefdom will feature shields, archery, mounted combat and even gunnery. On a personal note, I can't wait to play a new good slasher game, and I'm sure I'm not alone. Mordhau had 80,000 peak players at launch, and Chivalry 2 was also a hit, proving that there is a huge market for these types of games. Let me know in the comments what you think of Fiefdom. And if this next-gen melee slasher sounds exciting to you, check out the Fiefdom Kickstarter campaign and join the Discord. Both links are in the video description below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for future updates. And as always, thank you all for watching and see you soon.